We've got just one category left. Assuming Ron doesn't win, we'll have a female president for the academic year 2011-12. The question is who? Sophie Richardson versus Alex Chandran. We're asking them both exactly the same questions on Meet the Candidates, but the question is, will they give us the same answers? It's survive or die as we meet the candidates. So we're here in the Octagon, and the first of our two potential candidates running for president is 23-year-old Sophie Richardson, who studied her BA in Joint Honours French and Linguistics here at Queen Mary and spent the last of her 5 years here at Queen Mary as Vice President Education and Welfare, and joins us now. How are you, Sophie?
Hi, I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, talk me through the key features of your manifesto.
Basically, I've picked up on 5 main points. First of all, the fact that I come with a wide variety of experience, that I feel I could use these sort of experiences and previous opportunities in my role as President next year. I've also picked up on the fact that we need to have a more academic and welfare-focused union. I think the union needs to become more relevant and representative, and that will come through sort of a restructure of governance. I've also picked up on the fact that we need to build more community spirit on campus, and finally, better communications.
Okay, now I'm going to come on to the first point I want to look at, our first topic, which is participation. Now, do students get enough opportunities with QMSU to be part of the campus community, and what do you intend to do as President to increase participation?
Okay. I think there are a real wide variety of things that students can get involved in at the moment at QMSU, you know, ranging all the way from academic opportunities to volunteering, sports and various other activities. I think something that I'd like to focus on next year, something that I've sort of started working on but in the very early stages this year, is involvement of postgraduate and international students. I think there's a real lack of community for our postgraduate students in particular, especially the ones who are on research courses rather than taught courses. I think that's something that we can definitely work on next year.
I'm sure you'll agree we're a diverse institution, but are we inclusive, would you say?
I would say we are inclusive, yes. I think there are ways that we can become more integrated, or integrate various different groups of students. I think we're a very multicultural campus, and I think the way that we can sort of build better links between the various different students that we have on campus is through things like interfaith events and various different sort of multicultural things that we can do.
Okay. Now, how would you handle antisocial behaviour and domestic abuse on campus? You know, there's probably a lot, well, there's no tangible figures to support this, but it's often said that there are more cases than are reported, possibly because people feel scared to speak up. Do you agree with that, and what do you intend to do about it?
I think this year I've already started working on awareness events, particularly to do with drink spiking. I ran an awareness event in Drapers on one of our most popular nights, which was Hail Mary, just before Christmas, to raise awareness of how easy it is for your drink to be spiked. So we've already sort of begun work there, and I'd like to see things like that continue. I think awareness is the main issue. Obviously, the union doesn't always know everything that goes on campus, and you know, it's important that we do make sure that we are raising awareness. That is the role of the union, I feel.
Okay, now I want to move on to talk about education. Higher education finances are dominating the landscape of student politics this year, and that's unlikely to change next year. Therefore, what stance are you taking as a candidate with regards to representing students at QM?
With regards to future
With regards to future fees and the general student finance generally, yeah.
Okay. I think obviously the sort of period that I would be president if elected would be quite a difficult time, because there won't be any higher fees at that point, but there will be cuts within institutions. And I think for me a priority next year would be ensure that any cuts that do take place within Queen Mary don't affect the academic experience of students, or have as minimal impact as possible on the academic experience.
Are your views in line with the current SU free education policy? Will you continue that policy?
As an elected officer, I would work to continue to represent students, and if the free education policy stands next year, then of course I will be mandated to represent students on a free education policy.
Now, sometimes when I'm walking around campus and you talk to students, you sometimes hear that QM is quite apathetic. First of all, do you agree with that? And if you do, what would you do to encourage more people to get behind the higher education finance campaign, or campaigns, plural?
I think what we have to remember is, at Queen Mary, traditionally, QMSU hasn't been a very political union. So therefore, some people may see our students as apathetic from a political point of view. I think that we saw a real sort of turn in that this year when we had over 200 students attend the NUS National Demo with us back in November. And I think that was a real sort of proud moment for QMSU when we had a real sort of surge of political engagement between our students and the wider picture. But I do think at the same time some of our students, we have a large number of students who volunteer, we have a large number of sports and societies, and I think just because our students aren't getting involved in political things doesn't necessarily mean that they're apathetic.
Okay, now I want to move on to talking about entertainment at Queen Mary, and the social life of campus. Do you go to Hail Mary, rather? I was going to say, do you go to Queen Mary?
I do go to Queen Mary.
Do you go to Hail Mary?
I do, yes.
How often do you go?
Well, in fact, I think I've been to every one this year, actually, because obviously they've been once a month rather than fortnightly this year. So.
Do you think it's an important part of the job to go?
I think it's a very important part of the job to make sure you're getting your face out there, to make sure students are interacting, you are interacting with students. Yeah, I think it's important.
Okay, now entertainment events at QM vary to catering to a large variety of students, but do you think they do that successfully enough? And what do you want to do in terms of developing entertainment and social events here at Queen Mary?
Well, obviously there's been a lot of focus on events that aren't alcoholic to cater for a variety of different students. I feel that last year when I was in my final year, I begun the process of more sort of non-alcoholic events on campus by founding the QMSU Loves You events, which take place in the Blomley Centre. They're always really great fun, and they've continued this year with being student-led, but me still supporting the lead students. And I'd really like to see that continue because I think it's really important for community spirit as well. I think there are other areas that we can grow into. For example, research students, I think that they need more social activity and better ways to communicate with each other and sort of build those networks.
Okay, let's turn now to welfare and student experience. The library has seen an overhaul this year. Do you like it?
I do, yes.
What areas will you focus then on in lobbying and the continuing development of library and IT services?
Well, obviously, whatever feedback comes to me through from students, I always feed onto the library. I'm actually in discussions with them at the moment to do with their opening hours over Christmas. I know students weren't happy, they weren't open for long enough, they were closed on weekends, and that just, that wasn't okay. So I'm definitely in talks with them constantly throughout my past year in this education role. That's been one of my responsibilities. We're also discussing ways in which the upper levels will be refurbed. There's possible plans on a postgraduate area, and we're always sort of in constant talks with them about how those plans will go forward.
Okay, now the Vice President of Education and Welfare heads up welfare campaigns, but you would still have a big part to play in ensuring that they are serving students. What particular welfare campaigns would you like to see take place if you're president?
I think there's a real wide variety of issues to do with well-being and welfare that we could cover. I think as President it would be my responsibility to support the Vice President of Education and Welfare in whatever sort of campaigns they wanted to go forward in. I'd really like to see our link with the Disability and Dyslexia Service continue because I worked with them in October to develop the Mental Health Awareness Day. So I'd like to see that link continue because it's a great relationship that we have with them, and I think it's important for students.
Okay. Final question. How would you like people to remember you as a president?
Oh wow. My legacy, you mean?
Your legacy looking a year ahead. What would you like to be most remembered for?
That's such a difficult question. I think I'd really like to be remembered for being hardworking, approachable, smiley. I think hardworking is the main thing for me. I think it's really important that the sabbatical team next year, if I was to lead them as president, that I set an example by being very hardworking, always approachable, always accessible for students. Yeah, I think that's really important.
Sophie Richardson, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
And our second candidate in the category President is 20-year-old Alex Chandran, a third-year single honours student in international relations and leading campaigner in the Stop the Cuts group. Alex joins me now. Welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
How are you in this early stage in the campaign?
Yeah, doing good, thank you. Enjoying it.
Okay, now talk me through the key features of your manifesto.
Okay, so I'm running on the Viva Queen Mary slate, and our main priority is fighting the cuts to education in the public sector. So that's kind of the core and the crux of our manifesto. I also talk about international students who are facing issues with Tier 4 visas and victimisation surrounding that, as well as better representation for students on campus and a greater celebration of the diversity we have on this campus. I think those are the things that I want to bring to the student union, and I think I can bring to them.
Okay, now I want to look first of all at participation. Do you think students get enough opportunities with QMSU to be part of the campus community? And what do you intend to do to increase participation?
I don't think that they do, and I don't think there's enough representation either. I speak to a lot of students, they don't know where the student union is, they don't know who their sabbatical officers are, and I think in regards to participation we have such a vibrant cultural diversity on this campus, and there are so many societies to get involved with and to learn about, and I think if you kind of celebrate those, and it's LGBT month and it's Chinese New Year, but there's nothing on campus about it, and I think if we do celebrate those things, there will be greater participation within the student union events, within student life on campus. So I think it's about working with those things and celebrating them.
And I suppose because we are such a diverse institution at Queen Mary, but whilst we're diverse, would you say that we are inclusive? And how can we kind of make ourselves more inclusive?
Well, I think going back to what I've said, that there is diversity, but you do have these pockets and clusters of different societies, different religious groups, different cultural groups. And I think by coordinating events, advertising events greater through the student union, people will realise, oh, there's that society, that'd be interesting to go to, or celebrating annual historic events like LGBT, Black History Month, Women's Month, Chinese New Year, Eid, which are very important to the people that we have on this campus and the diversity we have.
Okay, now, quite a tough question, I guess, here. How would you handle antisocial behaviour and domestic abuse on campus? My experience is that there is more of it than there is reported, possibly because people feel scared to speak up about it. Do you agree with that, and what would you plan to do to tackle it?
Well, I think there's a reason why people feel that they can't speak up about certain things, and I think one thing is the kind of insular nature of the student union on this campus. And I think creating a more open student union and a greater support network for students and advertising that more so will allow people to come out and to say, this has happened to me, can you please help me? And I know there have been incidents where people have experienced certain things and it hasn't been dealt with, or it's been dealt with very slowly, it's had to have emotion passed on it. So I think this needs to be dealt with, and the system needs to be made a lot more open and supportive.
Okay. Let's move on to talking about education. Higher education finances are dominating the landscape of student politics this academic year, but also inevitably next year, and no doubt the year after. So therefore, what stance are you going to take as a candidate with regards to representing students of Queen Mary?
So I have been one of the lead campaigners within the Stop the Cuts group at Queen Mary, and I've been on numerous demonstrations, and I've just kind of seen it through since the beginning of the year. I believe that we can kind of cause these cuts to retract. That the government is saying that there's no other options, but I think it's for the benefit of education and future education So I think it should be in the minds of everyone. People have their different political views and their different economic views for things, but I hope to impart some kind of knowledge surrounding that into the student union. But if what the students want is something else, then I have to represent them. But hopefully, you know, I can raise awareness surrounding this issue.
So, are your views in line with the current position of free education? And if not, would you like to see a different policy position from the union?
I think free education is a workable scenario, and I think that it is achievable. You know, tax avoiders and tax fraud and billions spent on war and nuclear weapons, I think, can all be kind of used in a different way to benefit society even more. And I do stand by the policy. I think it's going to be something that's going to be hard to implement and going to be difficult for people to kind of grasp because of the nature of the world that we live in. But I will continue to fight these education cuts, and I will continue to remain committed and work with the amazing groups of people that I have, because we want a better society and we think education is a right, and so yeah, it should be free.
Okay. Now it is sometimes said that QM is apathetic. First of all, do you agree with that? And what can be done to encourage more people to get behind the campaign on higher education finance?
I think people do, when they get involved with certain campaigns, they do see a side of Queen Mary that is apathetic. And we've been tackling this for a while, but you do, when you start to engage with students, they understand what's going on, they've seen things in the news. Some people don't. But I think it's about raising the political profile of these issues and raising campaigns awareness, which has been very difficult for us because we are a small group and, you know, resources are limited, finance is limited. So I think it's about getting out onto Library Square, engaging with people, telling people about it, asking them what they want, asking them their views on certain things, and not kind of, you know, just letting things happen.
I want to turn now to entertainment. The social side of being at Queen Mary. First of all, do you go to Hail Mary?
I have been, yeah. I have been to Hail Mary before.
How often do you go?
I haven't been in a while. It used to be a kind of freshers second year thing. I've had to focus on a lot of work and a lot of campaigning this year, so I haven't been as active in the Hail Mary scene.
Do you think it's actually an important part of the job to go to Hail Mary?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think you know, attending student union events or student union nights and Drapers or linked to How's Your Father in the New Globe. But yeah, I think they are important, you know, because you engage with people on a different level as well. It's a different environment to Library Square, and yeah, absolutely it is.
I mean, do you think entertainment events at Queen Mary are varied to catering to a large variety of students successfully? And how do you as President plan to kind of develop the entertainment and social side we have on campus?
As I've said before, I think a lot of events are very alcohol related, a lot of events are very bar related, and a lot of events are kind of very streamlined for a certain niche of people. And I think we have a lot of people on campus who don't drink alcohol, a lot of people on campus who don't want to go to a bar or to, you know, go to whatever environment that's being planned for them. And I think we do need to cater for this, and I think promises have been made, but I don't think that people have achieved those aims that they've set for themselves, or promises that they've made to certain students. And I think we need to implement different ways of holding events in different places and different kinds of events so that everyone can get involved.
Sure, okay. Let's finally turn to welfare and the welfare of students. The library this year's in an overhaul. Do you like it?
I think it looks very nice, yeah. I do like it. I haven't kind of played around with all the new gadgets that they've put in, but I think if students find it accessible, find it useful, then okay, like that's a good use of money. But I have heard mixed reviews about it.
Okay, so in your capacity as president, what areas in particular would you focus on for lobbying the college to develop this space, and also linked in with that IT services?
I think a 24-hour library is something that people have been kind of pushing for a while now, previous SU candidates. And I think that's something that I definitely push for, because you have people who live quite a way out and who might want to spend the nights in libraries, like even during exam time, writing essays during, before exam time, that kind of stuff. And I think it's just a very convenient thing. People study at so many different hours, and we've got such a big student body that we do need this 24-hour library to cater to everyone's needs.
Now, in terms of welfare campaigns, these would probably be headed up managed by the Vice President of Education and Welfare. But are there any specific welfare campaigns you'd like to see happen as President?
I think anti-discrimination campaigns. I've heard about events, incidents on campus that have really kind of aggravated me, because nothing has been done, and I don't think there's been enough exposure about these incidents. And I think I would definitely kind of set up and push for campaigns surrounding anti-racism, anti-homophobia, anti-sexism.
Can you sort of be specific about what you mean by incidents? What sort of incidents do you mean?
Kind of attacks upon students,
okay.
or things that have happened that haven't been dealt with and haven't been condemned. So I think that's a very important thing, because allowing things to happen means that it's okay that that's happened, and not tackling the issue, it reflects that it's okay.
Sure.
We're not going to deal with it because it's just there.
Sure. Okay. Final question. How would you like people to remember you as President?
Someone who really fought for what they believed in, and who didn't make empty promises, and who actually wants to go into this position and go into the student union with a certain direction in order to better things for people, to provide greater representation, and to just make sure that everyone enjoys their time at university, everyone is represented, and just someone who can represent everyone, I suppose, and people can say, yeah, I feel represented by that person, and they're doing a good job.
Alex Tranter, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.